Hi, awesome students. In today's edition of our remote learning, we're going to take a look at Act 3. Specifically, we're going to look at the internal conflict or the guilt that sort of is in Act 3, and that continues what we've been discussing for the first two acts. Remember, your capstone assignment is going to revolve around this concept of internal conflict and or guilt. Now, today's lesson is rather easy because most of the information, most of the textual evidence that we're going to take a look at takes place in one particular scene, and that scene revolves around Banquo's ghost. Where it becomes a little bit more complex is you have to ask that question about whether or not the feelings that Macbeth is showing and the dialogue that he's delivering, is it based on guilt? Is it based on internal conflict? Or is it based on fear? And that's something that we can sort of figure out a little bit now, but also you'll be able to make a decision for your capstone writing assignment. So without any further ado, let's pull out the book, and then I'm going to share with you some textual evidence. So as I said, we're beginning in Act 3 here, right? But we're jumping really, really quick. We're not going to look at every single scene. We're looking at scene 2 specifically, line 14. And this helps us sort of begin the, helps you sort of get an idea of where the mentality of Macbeth might be. So in line 13, or 14 rather, he says that we have scorched a snake, we have not killed it. And so what he's saying here is that he has to kill Banquo. So he's making a decision to kill Banquo, which of course is radically different than his thought process about what to do with Duncan earlier on, where now it's like, I'm going to kill Banquo, and there's almost no second thought about it. And then jumping down here, he goes on to say that his mind is full of scorpions, all right? So what does that mean here when he says that his mind is full of scorpions? And again, we're still in the same scene here. Well, basically he's saying that his mind, he himself can't rest easy until Banquo has been eliminated. So again, this concept of guilt, this concept of internal conflict doesn't seem to be in existence with Macbeth at this particular moment here. So let's go down here. When does Banquo first appear? Well, he first appears in scene 4, the ghost of Banquo. To refresh your memory, Macbeth has hired a handful of assassins. They have intercepted Banquo and his son Fleance while they were out riding. In scene 1 of Act 3, Macbeth inquires about whether or not Banquo was going to go out riding and for how long. And he says, make sure you come back. So Macbeth is aware of what Banquo's routine is going to be. And so these assassins, they go out and they kill Banquo. They're not able to kill Fleance. Fleance is able to sort of get away. And so now in scene 4, this feast is taking place, and this feast is a celebration of the coronation of Macbeth as king. And so remember, King Duncan is dead. Macbeth is the one who sort of grabs the throne after Malcolm and others take off because they sort of recognize that there's some funny business that's going on here. So the ghost appears. So my question that you got to think about is, why does the ghost appear? Like, what is causing it to appear? Does it appear literally, meaning is this literally the ghost of Banquo that appears and he wants to get revenge on Macbeth? Does the ghost appear because the witches are making the ghost appear, right? To sort of mess around with Macbeth? Or does the ghost appear because of whatever's going on in Macbeth's mind here? Is Macbeth in essence hallucinating this? Is it through fear? Is it through guilt? Is it through some other emotional conflict that's going on with him? Well, we don't know here. We have no idea. But when we take a look here at the next line, same page here, same scene, of course, scene 4, we're looking at lines 50 and 51. Macbeth talking to the ghost says, thou canst not say, I did it. Never shake thy gory locks at me. So again, here's your first interaction between Macbeth and the ghost. And his first interaction is to deny it. He says, you can't prove it. I didn't do it. Again, why is he saying these things? Is this a guilt thing? Is this a conflict thing? Is this a fear thing? I think it's kind of open-ended. And depending on how you sort of read Macbeth's personality, You got to make that decision about why he's saying, why he's doing, why he's seeing these things here. So we jump over now to line 70, right? And so what's sort of happening here is that Macbeth is starting to really have a dialogue, for lack of a better word here, with the ghost of Banquo, right? And what's important is that everyone else around him is looking at Macbeth like he's crazy. Some people are trying to usher the guest out. Lady Macbeth is trying to excuse in terms of what's going on here with Macbeth. And so it's very clear that only Macbeth can see this ghost here. We jump over now. Still scene 4. Remember I said most of our conversation today is going to be taking place in scene 4. Lines 75 to 73. Macbeth goes on to say that blood hath been shed ere now. Since in the olden time, ere human statute purged the gentle wheel. So let's just stop for a second here. Macbeth at this moment is justifying what he has done. Macbeth is saying that murdering, killing on this level took place all the time in quote unquote olden times. And he says that while we've tried to purge this or tried to get rid of murdering, killing within human society, we failed to do so. So here he's justifying his actions to this ghost of Banquo. So again, why is he justifying these actions? Is he justifying these actions because he feels guilty about what he's done? Is he doing it because he's afraid of what the ghost is going to do? Well, we're not sure. If we jump down on the same page here, right? So we're looking at line 99. And on line 99 to about 104, Macbeth's still having dialogue with this ghost. Says, look, I'll face you in any way that you sort of form, even in the form of like the fleshy, the living Banquo. But this goat thing, I don't want to do it. So this seems to be a fear thing here with Macbeth when he says that, you know, what man dare I dare approach thou like the rugged Russian bear? And he talks about all the different ways that he's willing to approach this particular, you know, this ghost here, but as a ghost, he does not want to do that. So let's jump over then. And we're jumping over to onto lines 115 to 116. Again, we're still in scene 4 here, right? So Macbeth says, he's talking about, you know, how he feels and everything. But then he says to Lady Macbeth, he says that she's keeping the natural ruby of her cheeks, whereas Macbeth are blanched, meaning they're white, they're pale white with fear. So this seems to suggest a fear reaction towards this ghost of Banquo, as opposed to guilt, as opposed to any other sort of internal conflict that's taking place. And then there's more fear. If we jump down to lines 124, 32, line 122 roughly, where he says, it, meaning the ghost, will have blood. They say, blood will have blood. So in other words, he's fearful, again, no guilt, no conflict, he's fearful that this ghost of Banquo is going to kill him. So there's parts of this that certainly lend itself to the idea of internal conflict. There's parts of this that lend itself to guilt, like a guilty conscience. But then there's other parts that certainly lend itself to the idea of being fearful. But here's the thing. Remember, you can be both those two sort of emotions. You don't have to be one or the other. And so when you write about this concept, you can talk about the complexity, the complex feelings, the complex emotions that Macbeth is experiencing here, both of self-preservation, you know, physically, the fear thing, but also how his conscience is really pricking him and really taking him for a ride. So let's look at the final piece of textual evidence or quote that we're going to discuss today. Again, we're in Act 3, but now we've shifted to scene 5 over here, right? And this is Macbeth, or scene 4, excuse me, I wrote down scene 5, but I'm wrong. So scene 4, it's at the very end of scene 4. And this is Macbeth sort of coming to grips with what's going on here. He says over here in line 139 that strange things I have in my head. Now, strange things could be just sort of he feels like he's going crazy, or they could be similar to those horrid images of killing King Duncan and killing Banquo and Fleance that he's already experienced. He says, that will to hand which must be acted ere they may be skinned. So he's saying, I'm going to start acting on all these things that's going through my head here, and I'm not going to second guess them. And then he goes on to say, come will to sleep. So it's a couple lines down. Come will to sleep. My strange and self-abuse is the initiate fear that once hard juice. I'm saying that this fear that he is feeling here, it's kind of like that of like a rookie, a beginner, of someone who's not used to doing the things that he's doing. But the more he does it, then the less he will feel this way. And it's very possible that the word fear is sort of being used interchangeably with this idea of guilt, with the idea of internal conflict and one's conscience and so on and so forth. So that's it then, ladies and gentlemen, as it relates to Act 3. Obviously, there are more complex things that are taking place, and there's additional textual evidence that you can sort of dig out. But again, I'm just trying to go over the different acts with you in an overview, a brief way, to give you an idea of what's going on and sort of give you enough evidence, enough sort of meat on the bone, if you will, so you can tackle that capstone assignment, which has not been assigned yet, but tackle that capstone essay that's going to be coming up when we finally complete Macbeth. So in the meantime, always feel free to send me an email. I hope to see you during our opportunity blocks. If you have me in college prep or 9R, then your opportunity block is on Monday. And then, of course, if you have me as an honors student, then your opportunity block is on Tuesday. But again, I'm always available by email. In the meantime, be safe, and I will see you later. Bye now.